G'day and welcome to Let's Talk Motorsport for another weekend Wednesday, weekday Wednesday more than anything, where we talk about the weekends. But thanks for joining us. Thanks for all the feedback we've been getting since I've gone on here now. This is our 4th episode, so very encouraging. Last weekend at the World Superbikes was good to catch up with people and say how much they're enjoying the show. So hopefully we can keep that up. And to let us know how you're enjoying the show, please send us in by Facebook or YouTube Live your comments or questions to our studio guests. And then we've got tonight we've got a couple of special interviews. Part 3 of our interview with Johnny Ray, the 5-time Superbike World Champion, who had a little bit of success at Phillip Island last weekend. Not as much as he wanted to, but not too bad after all. And the new boy on the World Superbike block, Scott Redding, who had a pretty good weekend himself. Got a very good interview with him later on the show. But first up, let me introduce the guest for the night. Our special guest this week, Sam Dymond, who does historic racing and will be competing in the Burson's Island Classic Car meeting this weekend, the 31st running of the event. Jordie Forde, pretty competent superkart driver who's actually won a Grand Prix in England. And fresh from his domination of Phillip Island Aussie Superbikes, the first round of the championship last weekend, Wayne Maxwell, 3 wins, pole position and a new outright lap record, or fastest ever lap. Welcome guys, and thanks for joining us. And before we go any further, and big part to you too, you've started off the year in a big way, mate, with the way your Boost Mobile with K-Tech suspension Ducati's going.
Yeah, look, it's been really a dream start for a small, it's, as I said, every time I ride the bike, it, exceeds my expectation and the team and stuff like that. So, for a lot of members in the team, they've never won a race like at that level. So to win a race and be able to do that for them and see the looks on their face when I get back to park for me, it's pretty special. And, so much work goes in behind the scenes, especially when you're involved actively. I'm used to just turning up and, saying, what time's my session, what do I have to do, and going out. But obviously having a lot more involvement, being a small team, it's been an absolute dream. Well,
before we get into that in a bit more detail, there's been a lot of talk this week. The coronavirus has hit not only toilet roll stocks around the world, but also motor racing. We found out on Monday after the first round of the World Superbikes that the Qatar MotoGP have been cancelled. Moto 3 and Moto 2, they'll be there this weekend because they were there last weekend testing, so they've quarantined them in the country. But very unfortunate, the MotoGP's cancelled. The postponement of the Thai Grand Prix the following week, and also on that same week was supposedly the scheduled round of the second round of the World Superbike Championship, and that's been postponed as well, and that was in Qatar. And also with the Chinese Formula 1 Grand Prix being cancelled already for the year. Melbourne's even today. We've got to talk about this because it's pretty devastating what it could do to world sport. And I think with the cancellation of 2 MotoGPs already, I wouldn't be surprised if the circuit of the Americas, the 3rd and the 4th round at Argentina, because they're all on successive weeks, won't come under threat as well with the season starting in Jerez. And getting close to home now with the Melbourne Formula 1. The Prime Minister came out today and said that we might be imposing quarantines on people coming from Italy. If that happens, guys, it's a really big thing for the 25th anniversary of the Formula 1 here, isn't it?
No, it's going to leave a couple of holes in there, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's with the GP going and everything. It's not the first time it's happened, but hopefully, I said during the week, well, just keep the superbikes here, bring the GPs here, we can have one every week until it's all sorted.
Yeah, that'll be ideal. They're already all here, so yeah, that'll be perfect. But it's having a massive effect. It just started off and no one took it really that serious, but now it seems to be having a really big effect. And hopefully, they can get it all sorted and quarantined, and start to get it dissolved, and so we can. We're going to miss out on a lot of racing otherwise.
Well, it's Formula 1 as well. The week after Australia, they go to Bahrain, and then the successive weeks back to Vietnam. So that's, there's a lot of question marks to be answered at the moment, but hopefully they sort it all out. But they should be getting the teams over to the place as well beforehand, so they can put them in that quarantine and make sure they race. Because it's, I'm really feeling for the promoters of Formula 1 down here and everybody else around the world.
It looks like the S5000s will be the big field to watch at the Grand Prix this coming week.
Well, if that's the case, those they might be a bit more entertaining than the Formula 1s, because at least they're back in the old school of the old Formula 5000s when they were racing around and Well, we'll see a few of them this weekend, I suppose, at the Island Classic going back then, won't we, Sam?
Oh, absolutely. There's always a great field of those cars. Fabulous.
Now, let's get get over the politics and get on to the good things of racing. Sam, tell us a bit about yourself. You've you're part of the Penwright family, so you wouldn't have had much choice except to be involved in motorsport, would you?
Yeah. Well, we did have a bit of choice going for the motorsport side of things. Probably not so much the oil side, but motorsport. Yeah. My eldest brother Mark was a keen motorbike rider, and got into the cars with my dad because my dad was a massive supporter and a very much a passionate man about historic cars. And I think back in the late 90s, Mark began racing, and then we used to go and watch him race. And I thought one day that I thought I'd like to give it a crack, and said something to Dad, and then Dad was happy to help feed that.
That was a fair while ago, though,
yeah,
wasn't it?
that was a while ago. I've had my CAMS licence for 19 years now, and I'm one of 9 kids. I'm the 3rd youngest, and so his little girl was happy to go and jump in a motor car, so he was pretty happy about that.
So how many of your other siblings really got into racing?
A couple of the boys race motorbikes, dirt bikes, but as far as cars, I'm really, unfortunately we lost Mark in 2002, so it's just myself.
So how long have you been involved in the historic racing for?
19 years.
You just settled on the historics, you didn't try any of the modern stuff, no?
No. Oh, well, I don't really have a
interest?
choice. No, because Dad just kept putting me in these cars.
Well, that's not bad, but you're saying you did Formula Ford?
Yes.
So that was the older style Formula
Yeah,
Ford?
I still, yep.
But they'd be still pretty, nothing's much has changed in them over the years, has it?
No. Oh, no. Oh, well, the late ones to the newer ones now, there's a fair bit of difference, but basically the engines are still the same.
So this weekend, Phillip Island again, how many times have you been down there?
Oh, God, 19 years, no. I quite a few times, but it's a brilliant track. I think they've got about 495 cars going down there this weekend, and we always get
495, where would you fit them all?
Yeah, they managed to fit them.
Yeah.
And I think there's 9 female drivers this year, which is great, because usually there's not that many female drivers. I'm usually one of the only ones.
Has there been a bit of, not a resurgence, but has there been a bit of interest in the last few years of more women coming in? Because I've noticed that's in bike racing. We've always had dribs and drabs of girls coming over from the years, but Wayne, you might be able to agree with this, that we've got like the weekend past, we had 5 girls in the ultra competitive 300 Supersport class.
Oh, wow.
And one of them, Laura Brown, she's a tough little nut. She actually led the race. She had a lap record there a couple of years ago. But 5 girls through that, and I think, as far as we're all concerned, that you put motorsport's one of the few sports where you're on an equal playing field.
Absolutely.
You put your helmet on, gloves on, and away you go.
And away you go. Yeah. Absolutely. There's no difference.
So has there been more girls coming into it lately, or is it?
I don't think so, unfortunately. I think a couple more are trying to dabble, which is great. We always need more people full stop in historics, whether it be, some of the older guys are getting older and they're driving these wonderful cars, and if we don't get some younger people in them, well, these cars could disappear, and that would be a real shame because there's a lot of historical difference. The
film clip you had of racing at Phillip Island recently with the Cooper Climaxes and just all the old beastie Formula 1 cars from the past. It's a really good meeting to attend.
Oh, it's fabulous.
So what class will you be in this weekend?
I'm in LB Sports. And
what does that cover?
Well, the classification of the car, and so I think it runs from about a 1960s to the 1965, and then it's different classifications. But within my race, we've got different engine sizes as well. So
that was like Formula 1 back then, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Formula 1
absolutely.
And Formula 2 back then with the 1.6s, 2.4s, 2 litres
Yep.
and stuff.
Yep.
And then I suppose the cut-off is when the tyres started getting bigger in the Formula 1 days as well, so they probably had another class of that.
Yeah, we're going to run the cars as they were back in the day, and so my little tyres are these little skinny little go-kart things, and it's a ripper of a car. It's great.
What lap times would you be doing around Phillip Island in that class?
The little Lola only runs a 1200 Coventry Climax engine, so it's not a high horsepower car, but it still does very well under brakes. I'm getting, I hope I'm 2 minutes really, 2 minutes flat.
Yeah.
but you know, hopefully to break the 2-minute mark this weekend with it coming up.
That's not too bad for a car that's the best part of 60 years old.
Oh, absolutely, and it's very old school. It's only got, it's the Ford. It's only got four, you know, the Ford gear, four gears, and you know, it's
oh, someone dived up the inside of your
yeah.
bed going.
I get them back, don't I? Yeah.
So, what's the level of competition like in that? Good fun.
Oh yeah, no, it's great fun, and this is this year a lot of overseas contingency came over, so a lot of those Coopers were from overseas.
Was that a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I went out there and had a look at it on the. Yeah, they had Sterling Moss's car there
Yeah,
as well, and
yeah,
all sorts of things,
yeah.
didn't they? Yeah.
And so quick, and I jumped out of the car and. I was having great dice with one of them. I hopped out of the car and I said, "Oh, thanks for such a great race." And he looked at me and he goes, "Were you driving?" And I said, "Yeah, I was in a little black car." And he goes, "You?" Oh, yeah, me.
See, when you got a helmet on, no one knows who you are. You're just someone else to beat.
Yeah.
But in your time in 19 years, was there much challenge to you for being a lady in the sport, or you've always been accepted?
Oh, I think earlier on there was always that stigma of you're a girl.
Yeah.
But I just think I just pushed past it. I've got 5 brothers, so I'm used to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
so I'm used to it. So I just sort of pushed
You're good
past
with the
it.
comeback
And,
then, are
yeah,
you?
no, just get in the car and drive. Don't worry about it.
And there are a lot of categories this weekend for people who might be thinking going down in the Melbourne district. 11 categories, and they'll include Formula 5000s and touring cars and everything, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
touring cars. You've got the wings and slicks, the Formula Fords. You've got the irregularities. The Mustangs, they're always fun to watch. Yeah, no, it's a great weekend, and you can get up and close to the cars, to the drivers. We're always happy to have people come around and ask us questions, take photos of the cars, get the kids to jump in them, and you know, it's a great weekend.
So what else you got in store for this year with your racing?
We will stick with our local tracks. We will do Winton long track and short track. We've got the Sandown, and then we'll head into state. We like to do Malala, or I think, and then we might go to Eastern Creek as well. That's a great track as well.
So about 6 or 7 a year. So it doesn't encroach on, because you're a mum, got a young daughter as well. So that'll take up a lot of your time.
Yes, she does.
Is she into cars?
Just started on the horses actually.
Oh, well, that's probably more expensive. And you fall further with one of them when they throw you over the bars as well. No, but anyway, thanks for joining us, and be free to jump in with any questions and everything. But before we get on to the other guys, let's go and have a look at part 3 of our interview with Johnny Ray, the Tuesday before the testing started at Phillip Island a couple of weeks ago.
You know, you get people now comparing MotoGP to Superbike, and you get the GP guys wanting to put out the fire, and then the Superbike guys are, you know, sometimes you feel hard done by, but when there's a comparison, it's nice, because I feel like we are on that level. There's enough, there's, you know, 3-4 teams in that paddock that could legit go to GP and challenge, because they've got great people and engineers. Likewise with riders, there's a lot of talented riders that wouldn't disgrace themselves in MotoGP, so it's, whilst it's not two different sports, one's production based, one's prototype based, I feel they both have their place in sport, and I'm all too happy to fly the Superbike flag and really enjoy it there.
Well, Carmelo Espoleta's come out this week, the head of Dorna, and said that Kawasaki actually applied for a wild card to go into a MotoGP. In your opinion, how, like we looked at the lap times, they're not too far apart. Obviously you knew about this going to happen. How were you feeling about it, and how do you think the Kawasaki, because you've got something with the Kawasaki that no one else has got?
I don't know. To be honest, it was news to me.
Okay.
I think it's also a media storm, and yeah, I mean, if Carmelo said it, there was obviously a conversation, and I don't know how it would go. You can't compare, because it's two different tyre brands as well.
Yeah.
You know, to be competitive, we would need to be testing with MotoGP tyres for a bit to understand. But I feel like how handicapped we are at Kawasaki with the current regulation state. I feel like Kawi could really make me a proper bike, you know, an engine, and we have the know-how to do a chassis. They can make a competitive bike.
Well, they've proven it in the past in MotoGP.
Yeah, I'm not saying to be inside, to be bothering the front guys, but I'm sure we wouldn't round out the back of the field.
Now, while we're on the subject of MotoGP, one of the travesties to me in the last 10 years is that you got a couple of wild cards to replace Casey Stone when he was injured. 2 top 10 finishes as a wild card, that's unheard of. And nothing else happened after that. And like I said, to me, it was, and probably a lot of people watching this show would feel the same way. How was it to you, like all those faithful years with Honda, and then to see that when you think, here we go, here's my chance, and you prove to them that you can mix it with the big boys, and nothing ever, and probably led to you going to Kawasaki in the long run.
Yeah, it was a sad time for me as well, you know, because I was, not that I was a kid back then, because I was still like mid-20s, but I really felt that if I aligned myself with Honda, they had all the stepping stones to go to the top, and it was really unfortunate for Casey to get injured, and it was really a holiday ride for me, to be honest. It was scary because it was MotoGP, and I went there with, you know, my eyes wide open, taking everything in, and I got told straight away, don't crash this bike, just finish and bring it home. And it was a case of, then I really felt like a guy that was just filling in, and they were quite reluctant to make huge changes on the bike and do the way I wanted to go with things. And the 2 weekends were tough because it rained all weekend. These are races in summer, like Aragon and Misano, and it rained all weekend. It was dry for Superpole. So my first time riding the thing in anger was in qualifying, and I think the biggest thing was my crew were talking to Rossi's crew on Saturday night before the race, and they were just banter between mechanics, and apparently legit that they thought that they'd be riding around my area, and I was thinking, how cool is that, you know? Valentino Rossi, greatest of all time, thinking that he's going to ride around with me, you know, and at that kind of pace. Yeah. And so I ticked the box, you know, I went there and I rode for the best team in GP history, and didn't disgrace myself, you know, 7th and 8th. Yeah. And my biggest phobia was, back then there was CRT bikes, and my biggest phobia was getting beat by them, who were competitive at the time. I remember Aprilia did a very good one. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed nothing materialised, but it didn't. But that gave me the balls to leave Honda, you know. It was clear that I was too valuable in Superbike for them to want to try and support me to go there. And I knew that if I was going to, and their Superbike program was, it's not like right now, it was zero. So it was all ran by the 10Kate family in Holland, and they've done an awesome job, overachieved with that bike for years. And but when I moved to Kawasaki and realised what a factory support was all about, you know, I never looked back really.
Mate, you gelled with it, and there's something about you on the Kawasaki that you came along, and no offence to Tom Sykes, but you, from the outset, he was second string, he was playing catch up to you.
Well, I feel like Tom done awesome. He really developed that bike in the hard years. I mean, he was lucky to have an engineering company behind him that went away. You know, I could only dream of having that support at Honda. But they did, and they took the bike in a good way. But when I got there, I realized that it wasn't a bike really built for my style, but what I could do was adapt myself to ride more the way Tom requested the bike. And you know, my style from 14, 15, 16, there's a bit of an evolution there, and I changed some things. I was much better on the brakes, and more of a stop and go style than carrying my big, natural sweeping lines. But yeah, Tom pretty much helped me learn to ride that bike. So, and he was a competitive teammate, which is always nice to have a competitive teammate, because it never lets you to switch off and think it's fine. Because if you're having an average day, but you're beating your teammate, it's job done. But if you're having an average day and your teammate's 10 seconds up the road, you have to pull your socks off. So it was yeah, it was just the rivalry inside the garage that I needed.
Do you get on well with your teammates?
Yeah, Tom was tough because he was a competitive character, obviously, and he had come from the inertia of winning the World Championship when I arrived. And inside the garage it was tough because Tom developed the bike left and I developed the bike right. And the rivalry between the crew chiefs as well created an unhealthy rivalry, if you like.
That's, yeah, okay.
But I think when Leon came, it was great. Leon and I are friends. he's old enough to, and we've bashed fairings enough to know that we go out in the day and race hard, and you come in and 9 times out of 10 you can go for a beer, you know, after the race and have a laugh about it. You know, Alex is, Alex reminds me of the situation that I came to Kawasaki, a guy that has been hotly tipped, and he's got a lot of talent, maybe not had the whole package, but now he has. He's coming to Kawasaki with a great team around him, a great bike, so it's time for him to perform. So that, you know, I can see another rivalry created there, but if you look up and down the pit lane for SBK this year, the inter-team rivalries are great. You know, it's got all the ingredients of being a great year from the outset. But
I think it's more competitive this year than we've seen in quite some years.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great year to be part of it.
Yeah.
But also being part of it for so long, when you stand back, there's this hype created every year. There's always a reason for optimism. You know, everyone stakes their claim at the start of a year, so it's you need 4 or 5 races to understand exactly where you are, where everybody else is, and then ride the championship from there.
Well, he'll certainly be riding the championship from there after what happened to him last Sunday. His teammate, as we were talking off air there, Wayne, came in and didn't give him a serve, but beat him in the first meeting. So we saw 2 rookies coming over to be in the teams for the first time. Mr. Razamataz Razgatliolu, the Turk, winning, and Alex Lowe's beating his teammate there. That's the first time that's happened for a while with Johnny Ray.
Absolutely, yeah. When when we knew how much talent that Top Rack has, he's an amazing rider, and the Yamaha is a bit of a unknown, but obviously we've seen through, it's quite a good package when, it comes out in World Superbike trim and it's competitive in BSB trim, and obviously in our championship in ASBK we've seen the new Yamaha be competitive. So that was, it's no surprise he's going to be a threat once he gets back to Europe and gets onto a few races. And obviously Alex Lowe's was pretty much the smartest guy on Sunday afternoon. He just bided his time and seen an opportunity and pounced on it, and Johnny just didn't have quite enough time to respond, but it's set up for a great World Championship.
All the way up to the first race, you wouldn't have picked Alex Lowe's to be doing anything special after what he put through in testing. You had the other guys there, but he's come out of the clouds and really let people know that he's on song. He looks good in green and he goes fast in green. Yeah,
for Alex, he looked really in control. Obviously, he's on the ground normally a fair bit over the past few years, more than upright. So, but he did mature a fair bit last year. I think having Andrew work for him last year was a massive benefit for him, and obviously, he's a talented guy if he can stay on the bike, and I'm sure Johnny's going to break him down as the year goes on, though.
Yeah, well, he came from the 61 points behind last year to win the championship with 2 rounds of spare, so don't put anything past him. And just if you want to talk to Johnny Ray's book, Dream, Achieve, Believe, if you want to get it, it's a good read, actually. I told him I'd give you the plug for him on the weekend to help sales. Do you guys get into the worlds of the 2 wheels or anything, or strictly 4 wheels?
No, I enjoy watching the super bikes and the GP bikes. I think they're amazing. I've been down to the island to watch them, and full credit to them on the way they get onto
People like
that.
yourself hanging off of the bikes at those speeds, it's incredible. Like, I love watching it. I just couldn't never fathom myself.
Yeah.
Well, you've all raced at the island, so you've got a different perspective of what the island's like, and it's a challenging circuit no matter what you're on, and especially when you see the level of the MotoGP guys and the superbikes. From the bit that gets me when you see them going for it is from Siberia up to Lukey Heights, and you sit back and you realise, especially at the end of qualifying, you go, I can't ride a motorbike to save myself.
That's what I feel like when I watch those guys. So.
The way they throw it around. And but you get around a track at Phillip Island in a superkart pretty similar to what you do on a superbike.
Yeah, definitely. We're lapping almost as fast as the superbikes, just not as fast down the straights. But we're definitely having as much fun trying to hold on around those corners. I guess what we lack down the straights, we're
Have you ever put a G meter on yourself for a go-kart or a car around there to see how many Gs you pull?
I've actually, not around Phillip Island, around places like the Bend last year. We checked, I think it was holding 2.5 to 3 Gs for approximately a total of 6 seconds and still above 1.5 Gs.
Turn 6, 7, 8 knots through
Yeah,
there.
that's flat out through there.
That, going up over the hill and down onto the back straight.
Yeah, it's plenty of fun around that track.
So when did you get involved in go-karting? How old were you when you first hooked into one?
I think it was back in 2001. I was a little 7-year-old, keen as to get in a kart, run around on the track, down in Port Melbourne on a little short circuit. After watching my dad there for years and years and years, went out the grid up the back straight and turned across the track and went backwards. So then that's when I thought, it's not really up to me now.
So you soon learned that wasn't the way to do it.
Soon learned that wasn't the way to do it.
Yeah.
Took a breath for an hour, got back into it, and the rest is history. I've just come up through the ranks in the sprint karts, and then by the time I was 21, Williams Racing offered me an opportunity to have a go on the long circuits. So it had a bit of gearbox.
So just going back, what's the difference between a sprint kart for people that might be up to speed with go-karting? There's a difference between a sprint kart and what you're in now.
So the sprint kart, little kart, shorter wheelbase.
This would be good for you too. This is the sprint kart at the Superkart at Donington.
Yeah, that's it. So that's the race back in 2018. So I won the British GP back then. Got off to a bad start in that one, but got myself going and pulled a hefty lead and won that. But yeah, the difference between the sprint karts and the superkarts, as you can see on screen, we've got fairings and wings, a lot of aerodynamics helping us stick the kart, firm and planted on the track. We're doing speeds up to 250 kilometres an hour. So yeah, when you got the G's and the aero holding you down like a Formula 1 car, the neck gets a bit of a workout. The sprint karts, the short circuit, they're obviously running around on smaller circuits. They're only getting up to speeds of about 140 k's an hour, and shorter wheelbase, tighter tracks, not as long.
What about difference in engine capacity, 125 to 250 sort of thing, is it?
Yeah, that's right. There's 125s running in superkarts as well as sprint karts as a majority, but when you go into the superkarts, everyone aspires to get up into the 250 twin-cylinder international, and they're absolute weapons.
6-speed gearboxes in them?
Yep, 6-speed gearbox, so pulling all the way through, pretty much like GP, the motorbike GP motors. And I think just the power to weight is just incredible when you've got 4 wheels running you around.
All that grip. How's it going down Craner curves? Because on a bike, it's blind going into the left-hander going into the whole hairpin. So on a go-kart, you wouldn't know where the hell you were.
Yeah, obviously, you honestly don't. I mean, I'm lucky I've been there for the last 4 years. And but the first couple of times I went down the hill, I wasn't really sure where I was going in the Craner curves. It was just, follow the white line on one side and try and imagine where the curb is on the other.
So how long were you racing before you actually got to a Grand Prix level where you thought you could go and kick some butt over there?
So, like I said, when I was 21, we got into the superkarts, and with Scotty Williams and Dale, they showed me the way around Australia, and we did really well. We won the Australian Championship in 2015. Then we thought, well, what can we do overseas? We'll see how we stack up against the world's best. Went over to the British GP, thought, yeah, let's see how we go, and we ended up winning that on our first time over. So that was exciting in 2016.
A bit of a surprise too, I take it, going over there, the rookie of the class.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah,
but you weren't too popular.
No, not at all. It was a bit of an Ashes kind of a deal. The Poms weren't too happy with us Aussies coming and taking their beloved GP trophy away.
So did you have any reputation that you took over, or you were a complete dark horse? Like
no, it was just a
300 to 1 odd sort of thing.
Exactly, it was the dark horse in practice. I went out there, just ran in the motor and thought, this is going all right. We had a really good team. We were with the Factory Anderson team over there, so we had all the support with the motors and the chassis. We learnt a bucket load, and every change I felt that I needed was made for each session, and we just crept our way up to the front. And by the time qualifying and racing came, no one knew who we were, and we were just out. It was the Aussie kid beating all the Poms.
And you went back again last year, didn't you?
Yeah, so went back again last year, 2019. So we actually competed in the British round, their British National Championship round at Donington. The circuit layout was a bit different. They shortened the circuit.
Oh, the chicane instead of going down the long hairpin.
Yeah, there was no Melbourne loop, so it took away the tight technical part of the circuit and made it all fast and flowing. I was able to adapt to that, new part of the circuit for myself, and took out pole position and took out the round win. So I was the first Australian to take out a British Superkart Championship round. We went into the GP race. It was wet going into that. We were pretty confident, and got into a bit of a tangle on circuit racing for the lead. So it was good, hard, close racing, but unfortunately we didn't get to finish that one.
Oh, bummer. So will you be going back this year to try and reclaim the trophy?
No, unfortunately not, but we're going to try and focus on running the national championship here in Australia. So I was running the single cylinder 250, now we'll go to the twin cylinder 250s, and yeah, just try and take that title out. We had a crack at that here in Australia last year. We fell a little bit short. We had a few mechanical dramas that took the championship away from us, but this year we're confident that we can try and compete for number one.
What's the difference in power between the single cylinder and the two cylinder?
We're looking at about 20 to 30 horsepower, so...
That's pretty big in one of those little things.
It's pretty big. First time I drove a twin cylinder, I was, around the bend. I was trying to hold on to my neck for a little while. It took me a day or two to recover, but it's unbelievable, the amount of torque and power that's getting you up to 250k an hour, and then everyone else has to slow down, brake, pull up their big heavy car or motorbike, whereas we're going into the corner, 250k's to 100k's within less than 50-metre braking markers.
So, for instance, turn one at Phillip Island, would you back off?
No, we wouldn't dream of it. It's just flat out all the way.
Is the 250 like is a four-stroke, the 250 twin cylinder?
No, we're talking two-strokes.
Yeah, so they're still two-stroke. Okay, yeah.
Two-stroke, revving over 14,000 RPM.
Yeah.
Buzzing next year. So. Yeah.
Is it like what brand of motor is a two-stroke?
So nowadays they used to run all the Yamahas and the TZs. Now they're running purpose-made Superkart motors.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they're like Grand Prix motors. Like the old two-stroke Aprilias.
Yep.
But now they're DEA, VM, purpose-made motors for the supercarts. They've been able to fine-tune them really well, and they're real quick.
So
I have to get them on a motorbike for you.
How many meetings will you be having of that for the year?
So at this point in time, maybe 2 or 3 races. We'll see how we go. We've got the new factory Anderson chassis coming over from England in the next couple of weeks. A new VM motor coming over, so we're looking forward to seeing if we can, be dominant this year compared to and iron out all those bugs that we had last year with the mechanical dramas.
Sam, have you ever got into the karts?
No, I haven't.
No?
I should.
Inspired after having a chat at this?
Yeah, it'd be great.
Flat out around Turn 1 at Phillip Island, flat out around Turn 1 at Sydney, Eastern Creek. It's good fun.
Yeah.
So what's your lap time around there? About the same as what Wayne's doing, the 131s?
So in the in the single cylinder, I've been down to the 35s. So that's the lap record in the single cylinder. Yet to have a go in the twin around Phillip Island, but our lap record is a 128, I think.
Yeah, they're fast.
I'm looking forward to.
So you'd back off a little bit at Southern Loop on the brakes at turn 4 and turn 10, but other than that,
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Siberia, down
it's only really got 6 corners.
Yeah, that's it. Down into MG, it's flat out over Lukey Heights. So, and that's a rough, that's a rough ride because it's pretty blind. Yeah. It gets a little bit bumpy and sketchy through the centre, but you just got to hold on and just trust the aero. That's the biggest thing I've learnt since running in Europe.
Trust the engineers.
Yeah, that's it.
And I noticed a couple of weeks ago when I was out there for the Vic Champs, you were doing a bit of mentoring. Yeah,
so with all the support that we've had from Anderson over in Europe, after running the European Championship as well in 2017, we've really got our heads around the chassis. Williams Racing has been bringing in more karts, and we've got getting more customers and more drivers in the product that we run. So doing that mentoring, helping drivers build their confidence, just getting them out there and making sure they're finishing races, and obviously the faster they go, the more competitive they are, the more enjoyable it is for everyone.
I think we better go and have a chat to Williams Racing and see if we can get a steer one practice day.
Yeah, I don't doubt you'll be able to have a crack. It'd be great.
I'd love to have a crack. At least I know I've got 4 wheels on the ground. I'm not going to fall over too soon.
That's the problem with motorbikes. They fall over too easy.
Yeah. And Wayne, speaking of motorbikes, you had a great weekend last weekend, great season starter, and on the V4, completely different beast during the race, is it?
Yeah, look, it is. It's like a really, the power's really deceptive. It feels, the first time I rode it, I was like, oh, it doesn't really have much power, but that's when it started revving, and, when you head up near like 16,000 RPM, it's, when you got 225 horsepower, whatever it is, it's, it's definitely really good. The electronics aren't perfect at the moment, but obviously, hopefully once we can come to an agreement with Motorcycling Australia over the electronics and what they let us homologate, we can make a little step forward with the bike.
So you can't actually get into the standard ECU to do anything, is that correct from what I've been told?
Yeah, as far as I understand, communicating with Ducati and stuff, obviously they're owned by Volkswagen and Audi, the same group, and obviously they were, had a long legal battle over their emissions and were sued for quite a bit of money. So their ECU is quite locked up. So at the moment we can't get into that, it seems. And yeah, we can't see when we can get into that in the foreseeable future. Obviously, there is people that can, but it's time, and that's what's against us. Most championships in the last few years have been decided by 5 points, so you need every point you can get.
Well, I tell you what, after what you did on the weekend, I know Phillip Island's a unique beast, but you didn't see the mayhem that was being carved behind you because of everybody trying to play catch up with you. But it was a very dominating performance to do it, and especially take the lap record as well. So good confidence boost for the rest of the year. But Wakefield Park, that's only in a month's time. That's a completely different beast.
Yeah, the first time I rode the bike was actually at Wakefield Park. Was in November after I received Suzuki's news, and I went there and planned on spending the whole day there and getting to know the bike, and I had a sort of a number in my head that I'd be happy with. And I exceeded every time I ride the bike. It exceeds my expectations. I exceeded that number in the first 20 laps, and by lunchtime I was packed up and on the way home. So, it's always different. We've had some upgrades from K-Tech now with the suspension. Got a better understanding. I've adapted my style. We've got a few little things that we can test to make some improvements, and hopefully, we can keep the local hero honest.
It depends which one you're talking about there. I won't even jump into that one.
One of them.
But with you've been around a while. All the riders at the top have been around the while. Is there any young guys that are going to come through? Because you guys are, you're not going to go on forever. You've got a family, you've got a business to run. You want to go on forever, I know that.
No, I don't.
But, there's not a lot there that are knocking on the door ready to tip you guys off the top ranks.
Yeah, I think, when you see, young Ollie Bayliss, obviously he's a massive talent, and I was talking to his mum and the other day, he's 15-year-old kid. I think, Ollie, you should be going fast that, but he's a 15-year-old kid riding in a class that no one really in the world rides in. So we all probably a little bit harsh. He's a massive talent. We've really seen him take a next step on the weekend at the race. Tom Taparis is going to take the lunge overseas. If he comes back, he's another huge talent. On the weekend, his bike probably wasn't as good as the bike he raced last year.
His foot wasn't that much good.
Yeah, foot wasn't that much good. I took a ride over the handlebars at Lukey Heights.
Getting caught in the chain.
Yeah, so, I'd like to see that. And I think the talent's going to come from maybe some of those 300 kids that have gone overseas and maybe hasn't worked out for them. And, want to either have a career like myself or some of the other guys where they stay here. It's going to come from there. I can't see any guys really in the category at the moment that are going to, if they can't make that step now or haven't in the past few years, it's going to be very difficult for them.
Yeah, do you find that in karting, Jordie? Is there a lot of young kids coming through that are ready to knock the old boys off the perch?
Yeah, there's a couple actually. There's the likes of Nicholas Shembry, who's racing with us at Williams Racing. He stepped up from the sprint karts, and he's doing really well. We won a national round last year in the 125 category. So, and there's a bit of interest coming from in the sprint karts as well. We had the junior national champion Kobe Williams dip his fingers in the pie at the end of last year, and I think he won a Victorian round in the superkarts. So it's really good to get the kids' interest. They're going to be learning if they're using superkarts as a stepping stone towards cars, because then they get to jump onto the long circuits, learn the circuits. And, some of them just end up falling in love with superkarts like myself and finding out, hey, we can go as fast as the superbikes, we can go as fast as the V8 supercars, and for a fraction of the budget. So that's what's just so appealing about the supercars.
I also noticed at Phillip Island the other week too, there was a few young ladies in the classes that were running there as well. So that looks like there's more of that side of things with more participation. Yeah,
definitely. Women in sport is just growing exponentially, and karts is no exception. I know in the sprint karts, the Australian Kart Championship they had on the weekend at Tailem Bend, there was, in excess of 20 girls racing around, all from 7 years old up to 40 years old. So everyone's getting heavily involved, and that transfers into superkarts as well. Sam, you'll end up seeing it all coming through as well. And it's great to have the support of the whole motorsport community, getting the girls into it.
Oh, that's good to hear. Anyway, we might take a quick break and come back with more of Let's Talk Motorsport. Keep it on 10 seconds. That was about it. Well, welcome back. We told you it was a quick break, and we plan to do that with every 10-second breaks instead of going away for a bit. But we've been having a great conversation with all the panel here tonight. Sam Dymond from Historic Cars, Jordie Forde from the Go-Karts, and Wayne Maxwell from Motorbikes. We said the show Let's Talk Motorsport was going to be about bikes, cars and karts. We don't get one of each discipline on every week, but we plan to give it a good coverage during the course of the year. But still a bit of focus on motorbikes. We'll go and have a look at the interview I did with Scotty Redding. It was on the end of the first day of testing at Phillip Island, which was just a little over a week ago. It seems a long time ago, but this is a very entertaining interview. Scotty Redding, great to see you back in Australia and in another World Championship. Well done.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back, I must say.
Well, and Phillip Island, I suppose it's a good way to rejuvenate your World Championship here because it is one of your favourite tracks.
Yeah, Phillip Island has been one of my favourite tracks. It's a track I enjoy. I also enjoy the fans and the atmosphere here on the island. And it's good to start a new championship with a circuit that I know, because I'm up against a lot of things, you know, bike, tyres and stuff like that. So it's good to have a track that I already know and feel good with.
And just going back to last year to go, like, obviously no one wants to leave a World Championship, but at least you got a decent ride to go into the BSB. I mean, you made every post a winner, basically, you and on the Paul Bird Motorsport machine.
Yeah, when I left GP, I was in quite a dark place. I was kind of over racing. I kind of wanted to quit. I wanted to retire, and I had enough of it, to be honest. And then I sat down after a few days, and there was just something burning inside of me saying, you will not live it down if you quit here. So I spoke with my manager, Michael Bartolini, and we decided to get something that at least can work. I said, you can get me a jet ski, a quad, I don't care. Get me something with a team that works and a bike and machine that can win, and let me show to everyone I can win, regardless if it's Superbike, you know, in BSB with tyres, bikes, tracks and all that stuff. I don't know. So I don't care. If I'm as good as I think I am, if I've got a bike that can work, I can show you. So I took a big gamble, because if it didn't play off my way, I wouldn't be racing this year. I would have been like, okay, fair enough, is what it is. I had a good go, but that feeling I had inside was telling me the truth, and that's what's got me here today and made me feel better rider, feel more relaxed, and I have that confidence in myself, what I had before I was in GP.
Now, just going back to what you said just then, I think you hit a nerve with a lot of people, the black dog depression, that it doesn't matter what your mindset is, that in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning, you're waking up with doubts, you're wondering what was all worth it. How hard and how long did you suffer with that for?
To be honest, it was all the time I was in Aprilia when I realised that it ain't going to work, and you've got so much pressure from team, even family, you know, all people that are at home watching, millions of people that, you know, people don't think about that when you're on the racetrack. I think you don't think about that, but for me, I race to win. I don't enjoy riding the bike. I have fun, but I don't really enjoy risking my life. I do it because I want to be successful. That's where I get my drive from. So when I can't be successful, I don't see the point in doing it. You know, if I'm riding something that ain't going to win, for me, there's no reason in going racing. And then you don't know where to turn, because there's not many people that can be in that position to really understand what you got to deal with. People say, yeah, just don't worry about it, finish the season and move on. That's fine. But when you're a racer and you want to win, even if you know your bike doesn't work, you still want to try and win, and you put yourself in a bad hole to come out of. And I was suffering a lot, and I had no option. I couldn't get out. I couldn't afford to pay out of the contract. So I just seed the season off as best as I could, and then I had a bit of time off and regrouped. But I knew going to somewhere with a good biking team, I had that drive in me to pull myself out and move forward. And it's kind of a blessing in disguise. I was stuck in MotoGP where I couldn't excel on machinery I had. You know, when I was in Pramac with Ducati, they say, you know, it's the ex-factory bike, and it's not. You know, now with like Jack and Bagnaia, that now it's getting more closer to the same bike on the same year. when I was there, I had a bike that was developed with wings, and then satellite bikes were not allowed wings. So I never could get front downforce and front grip. So from the first test, you're trying to compensate for something you're never going to get. So in the end, what's the point in actually racing with the best elite guys in the world with the best bikes? And that's when it kind of got hard. But now I'm in a position where I've showed myself. Nobody wanted me when I left MotoGP. It was, you know, Scott's.
How do you keep your motivation when something like that's happening? You know, like you said, you're a racer, you're going out to win, but when you're going to get, you know, you're going to get flogged every time you jump on a bike, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. I've seen you race from when you were a youngster, and we know what you can do. You still, I think, hold the record for the youngest winner of a Grand Prix and things. To have that highs and the lows, to be having a team that's not really supportive of you.
I think a lot of it is I've grown up and I've had to work. I never really had best material growing up. It was not bad, but it's never the best. I never had an easy way coming through, so it made me hard inside. But at the end of the day, you can only help yourself. So when it gets hard, you've got two choices: give up and doubt yourself for the rest of your life, or throw yourself back in there and try again and try to make something great of it. And last year, that's what it was. And I broke my femur 1 month before the first test of the season, and Paul Berg kind of said, "You're not no use to me." And I was in hospital. You know, I woke up in intensive care with blood loss, and I couldn't tell nobody. Didn't want me to let nobody know because of sponsors. So I'm sat in hospital. Everyone thinks I'm out in Spain living the high life training. I was out in hospital, couldn't walk. And it was only 3 weeks and 6 days. I got back on a bike after the doctor said I needed 8 weeks. I said, I haven't got it. My job, my career, my life is on the line. If I don't turn up and ride, my contract gets ripped up. And we went to the first test and I set the fastest lap. I think we was on par with the lap record. And I said, don't doubt me. You know, unless I really ain't going to be there, I will be there on form. And then to come from there and win the championship, just them hard times now seem like they was worth it, and I learned a lot in those hard times, because when I was in hospital, that wasn't hard for me. Coming back, that wasn't hard. That's not what I dealt with in MotoGP, with pressure and suffering. That's a hard place to be, but I knew my leg could work again. So it was just a matter of being strong in your mind and telling myself. I was working 3-4 times a day to try and walk, to try and get it moving, and it hurt like fuck. I ain't gonna lie, it hurt, but I didn't have a choice. And now I look back and think that was worth every second of it. So it's nice now to be in a position where teams are calling you up, like, we want you to ride for us. 12 months before, they didn't even care. And that's why now to have this opportunity with Aruba Ducati, and them actually believing in me and seeing what I can do, I think it's opened the doors massive for me.
Well, and saying that, at the end of last year, were you pointing to a bird in the sky, so to speak, and saying, look what I've done?
Yeah, it was. You know, it's the people that kind of doubted me, the people that maybe didn't like me. By the end of the year at BSB, I'm quite sure they were supporting me. Because you fall into a class of MotoGP rider, stuck up yourself, got an ego, but people that know me know I ain't like that. So I had this thing where people thought I had this persona, which I didn't have, that by the end of the year realised actually this kid just wants to win. He works hard, he wants to win, and I was happy to show people that, because in MotoGP you can't show the real person you are and you fall into the category of everyone else. And I just want to go out and try and win. That's what I wake up every day for.
Well, when you said you're a kid, I think, what are you, 25, 26? 27 now, but still in racing terms that's young when we consider some of the ages of the guys that you're competing with and have competed with in the past.
Yeah, I kind of thought that last year with Aprilia, 26, I thought it's kind of near enough the end. You know, you had a good run, 10, 11 years in World Championship racing, you won races, pole position, runner-up in Moto2. But then after last year in BSB, I felt like 16 again. I thought, this is what I race for. Like, I found that buzz for winning. I go to win. That's the only reason I go. And I found that, and that gave me that motivation. I thought, like, 27, I've still got like 6 years in me. You know, I got mad potential from here on in if I play my cards right and stay dedicated like I always have, and work in a professional way.
And also with the bike, from coming from the V4 in BSB, how much difference is this bike that you're on now?
It's very similar. Same bike, just I think different exhaust system. We have electronics here, different profiled tyres, and that's more or less it. So the bike's got a bit more power due to exhaust. In BSB, you had to keep the noise level down. But yeah, same really, and I've adapted well to electronics. It's always easier coming back. The bike's well, the team is fantastic. I got my crew chief from BSB, who he understands me in the good times, the bad times, when I'm racing, when I'm not racing. He knows that I like to have fun and I like to mess around, but he knows I'm fucking serious when I'm in the pit box, you know, and he believes in me, and that's really good to have. And now, even with Ducati behind, I feel that they know I can do it, and it's good as a rider to have that feeling inside. So I'm really looking forward to getting underway at round 1.
Is there an avenue that this could take you back into MotoGP with Ducati? And it would be like coming a full circle, but then stepping up a grade as well.
Yeah, you know, it's people say, would you go back now, would you not? And to be honest, I've said if I can get a factory ride on a decent bike that can finish top 5 in MotoGP, and then you have a chance to fight top 3 in the World Championship, I'd go back. I believe I have the talent as a rider to do it. You know, the guys that I've raced against is Marquez, Maverick. I've raced with them all my life, and I've beat them so many times. It's just when we was going further up the rankings, they were ending up on better machinery than me. Maverick went into MotoGP on a factory Suzuki. Marquez went factory Repsol. I went on an open Honda in Gresini, you know, where the bike couldn't even finish top 10. And then you start to struggle. That's how it is. And I believe that I have the potential to be one of the best guys. And I kind of maybe doubted myself. And, you know, in MotoGP, when you start struggling and you've done everything you can to the bike, and maybe your teammate's a bit faster, you start to doubt yourself. You think, actually, maybe my time's done, maybe I can't. But now I've shown to myself that all them years I've been wrong, and actually I can do it. So if the opportunity came up again, I would give it a go. You know, I would definitely say yes. But my main goal is to try and win the world title for Ducati here in Superbike, because it's a massive thing to them, and I think they deserve it. So that's what we come to do, and I'll just see what tails off at the end, and I'm just happy to have a good run from here on in my career.
Would you be happy with anything less than number 1 come the end of 2020?
Well, we've got to be realistic, really. We've got to be realistic. Like, as long as we're there fighting and trying, anything can happen. You've got to have a bit of luck on your side to win a championship. We know that in all. Look at Bautista last year. He had the trophy at home, ready to go. And then in one moment, it just wasn't happening. And I felt a bit sad for him and Ducati, really. I felt they deserved it. But if I go down fighting, I'll be happy. And I think we've got it as a team and as a rider to fight for the title. That's the goal. It's not about winning, dominating, and, you know, like, I want to fight to win, and I believe that's what we can do. And the target, I've been employed to try and win that title, and I understand that, and I believe we can do it.
Well, thanks for joining us on Let's Talk Motorsport, Scott. And hopefully the next time I interview you, you're either a defending world champion here or the doors have opened to you on MotoGP, because from this little black duck's point of view, you're a loss to the sport if you're not in one of the categories on the top machinery.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'll do my best, and thank you, and hello everyone there.
Well, he's certainly grown up a bit from, he was a bit of a wild child. He's always polite. I've always got on with him. I've probably known Scott now for, I don't know, since he started 10 years. So, and I suppose he's had that wake-up call of the depression of getting at 25, 26, been thinking that you're over the hill. That'd be
I don't know how you feel.
I'm just getting there, actually, mate. Yeah. But yeah, and the training he did to break his leg a femur a month before the first test, and then to come back and then start getting on a push bike. You're a pretty severe push bike rider. And Sam, you get out on the push bike and you're both family people too, so you'll have to be balancing that as well to try and get out on the push bike. Do you do much, Jordie?
I used to do a bit of cycling. Now it's just a little bit of cross training, but mainly focusing on
Well, these
work.
guys, how many Ks do you do a week?
Not that much now. I tried, like, when in the peak was like 500 around there. So, but then obviously, you know, Herfosses and those guys, he's like 700 a week relentlessly. So that's the level that.
That's kilometres, guys.
Kilometres, yeah, not miles, only kilometres. It's not too bad. No, so like, yeah, so that's the level of obviously the fitness and.
Yeah.
That
There's a question for you, Wayno, from the Tuesdays. Any kids from the Moto Tuesdays?
Yeah, there could be. There's a few kids down at Moto Tuesdays, a few little ones. So obviously Angus Greenfield, obviously we've seen his talent there. You know, Reece Orchard, obviously, yeah. When I see him ride, there's something there. Obviously, I'd love to spend a whole lot more time with those younger kids, and that's the plan for the future, to try to make that, because I want them to experience what motorsport's given me. If those kids can experience that, it'll change their life. Yeah,
well, Reece Orchard, he was one of the ones that came through my GP Juniors. Harry Curry, I remember I was promoting that when it was his first road race. He's overseas this year. Dominated the Supersport 300 category at Phillip Island last week, and he's just had his 16th birthday on Sunday. And you look at these kids, the riding maturity of them, and that 300 Supersport race, it's like just crazed. The 45 bikes on the grid, and they'll be. I think there was one time during the course of the race that there was, and in the Junior GP, the Oceania Junior Cup. That was another one. They finished 15 of them within a second after 6 laps. And the Supersport 300, if you took Harry Curry's dominance out of it, the rest of them, there was about 7 of them covered by about 0.8 of a second. And in that, you've got young ladies and everything, and it's all mixing up, having a ball. So, but yeah, it was. I think hopefully the future's all right for the go-karts too, and you can start getting some ladies into the historic racing too.
Yeah, well, we just need to. Oh, there you go.
I'm a bit of a Sheila when it comes to driving, so they tell me. But no, it's all the best.
That'd be pretty disrespectful to the Sheilas, I'd say, if you said
that. Something like that. Yeah. But
the ladies.
Just before we go, let's have a look at what's coming up in motorsport around the country in the next couple of weeks. There we go. We've got Phillip Island Car Classic this weekend, proudly brought to you by Burson's, the 31st running of it. Classic cars at, where's that, Collie Motorsport Complex over in Western Australia. And then we've got the Festival of Speed for motorbikes in Sydney on the 22nd and 22nd of March. And also the first round at the 14th and 15th of March next weekend at the Terra Club in Hidden Valley in Northern Territory. And hats off to the guys up there. That's a great place to go racing. That's probably going back in August for another steer up there at least to have another go at the TTC. You should come up for that, won't you?
I might come up and be your pit crew.
I need someone anyway. But thanks very much for joining us. Hopefully we can see you again. And yeah, all the best for the year. I'll probably see you out the weekend and come and have a chat with you and a few others, because we want to do a bit of coverage on that one. Okay. Jordie, hopefully see you back in a kart soon.
Yeah, can't wait to get you guys into it. Yeah.
And Wayno, whether you like it or not, I'll see you in a month's time at Wakefield Park for the second round of the My Bike and Motorcycle Insurance Aussie Superbike Championships.
Look forward to it, mate.
No worries. And thanks for joining us again. Remember, you can still put posts up on the Facebook page. The show's on demand at any time, so tell all your friends, spread the word. We're going to get bigger and better in this. I'm getting a bit more relaxed in this, so hopefully we'll see you next week here on Let's Talk Motorsport.